3 News Now this week.
Well, the federal government put a ban on evictions during the pandemic, but there is at least one loophole.
It's allowing landlords to evict some of their tenants, and it's happening right here in Omaha. 3 News Now reporter Kent Letson joins us with more about a trend that's pushing people out of their homes.
Yeah, that's right, Jenny and Cerise. Last September, the CDC issued an order temporarily halting certain evictions. It was a level of protection for those who lost their job and were left unable to pay rent. But that protection only went so far, especially after landlords found loopholes in the system, allowing them to remove tenants with little warning.
I got 2 kids that I'm worried about. They live with my sister right now. I can't spend time with my kids.
Nicole Williams and her family were evicted just days ago after a judge ruled against their case.
Just so they could go to school. We got to be apart. And he took total advantage of that.
Their landlord, Bill Stanek, used a loophole in the CDC's eviction moratorium, something that was supposed to protect Williams and her boyfriend, Daniel Christian, after they lost their jobs due to the pandemic.
We thought we were good, and then we got another letter to appear in court. He wasn't asking for restitution or saying we were behind. He was just terminating our lease and evicting us.
Instead of evicting a tenant because of unpaid rent, which is not allowed, Stanek is removing renters because their leases were up, and he decided not to renew them.
It was sad to see him do that to people like that, that he got away with it, and that it was nobody to help.
And this exact scenario didn't just happen to Williams and her family. According to Scott Mertz, an attorney at Legal Aid of Nebraska, Stanek did the same thing on the same day to 4 of his tenants.
It's very common. We know this because of the numbers. There was a big dip in the number of evictions filed at the start of the CDC memorandum back in September and then in October, but the number of filings have crept up and up every successive month.
Mertz says although this loophole is legal, he's found there is a correlation between those that still owe rent and those that are getting eviction notices.
A lot of people are currently employed, we find coming to us, but they did have some interruption into their income earlier on, and they've just been playing catch up and been behind. That's a very common experience a lot of people are having.
Williams and Christian fall into that category.
You're very welcome. Is there anything else that I can do for you?
Now living out of a hotel room, the couple is still struggling to save money after being in and out of work during the pandemic.
Nothing has changed to the point where he gets to take us all to court and go around the memorandum and put us all out. I just did all of this stuff from September to now with housing, and I still don't got nowhere to stay.
Williams and Christian both feel their story is unfortunately not uncommon, and that the pandemic has really highlighted how easy it is for families to find themselves in a similar situation. Now, I reached out to their landlord, Bill Stanek, but he declined to comment on this situation. Legal Aid of Nebraska's Scott Mertz says eviction numbers have only grown throughout the pandemic here in Douglas County.
Wow, and Kent, what about that mother and father? Are they back with their kids now?
No, Cerise, they are not back with their family. Williams says there's not enough room for all of them in that small hotel room. Plus, due to the fact that they lost their jobs, it was really a snowball effect throughout the pandemic, and they could not keep up with car payments. So Williams said it's better the kids stay with her sister so they have a ride to school every day. Really an overall tough situation for this family, Cerise.
Absolutely. Kent Letson reporting from our newsroom this morning. Kent, thank you.
Of all the people that epitomize what it is to be a good human being and a good person, Andy was that.
The death of Andy Hoffman has left many heartbroken. In a statement to 3 News Now, the Team Jack Foundation said Andy was one of a kind and will be missed every day. They say his passion and determination is unmatched and is what made the foundation what it is today. Families and local organizations that work to raise awareness about pediatric cancer say Hoffman's passing has left a hole in the community that will be impossible to fill.
The only way to attack this thing is to attack it from all fronts at once. It's like a siege, and you just have to come at it full strength. And that's what Andy did. Is he was the one that kind of assembled the armies and was the general directing everybody on how to fight. And then we all just took it from there and ran with it.
The founders of Tyson's Treasure Chest and the Forever Nate Foundation all say Hoffman brought together families who were experiencing pediatric cancer. he created a support system.
When you're sitting in a hospital room and you get told your kid has cancer and your brain is filled with questions and there's no one to really get answers from. So Andy wanted to kind of bring us all together. And by doing so, he created what we call the Team Jack families.
And while they're mourning his loss,
so sad and still unbelievable. He was such a passionate man for pediatric brain cancer, and it's still kind of unbelievable. It's just too fast. It's not fair.
they say his legacy will live on.
I just want to have this mission even stronger now to do in Andy's memory along with the children.
In Omaha, Alyssa Curtis, 3 News Now.
One young man is dead and 3 others are injured following an incident near the Capitol District early this morning involving gunfire and a traffic collision. 3 News Now reporter Jessica Edson visited the scene today and talked to someone who was there when it all went down.
I don't know. It's just, just kind of surreal.
About 20 minutes before last call, patrons of Mo and Curly's Pub and Grill heard the sound of gunshots nearby. One man who was at the bar with his wife says he started to realize something was wrong when a man entered the bar hopping and shouting about a shooting.
I just know he was telling everybody to get down, get down. And that's when all kind of panic went off in the bar and everybody started getting down on the floor.
The man wishes to remain anonymous, saying he and his wife are still a bit shaken by what they saw when they finally exited the bar.
Right there in front, there was somebody who had been hit or shot, and then there was somebody out in the street, and there was another person up against the wall that had been shot.
Police say around 1:40 they responded to the scene of 10th and Capitol, where they found 24-year-old Joshua Thieland and 31-year-old Kevin Leslie, who both had suffered non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Police say a third unnamed person was injured, but that it was not related to the gunfire. The person our witness saw on the street was likely 21-year-old Sequel Hogan, who had been struck by a vehicle on Capitol Avenue. All victims were transported to Nebraska Medical Center. According to police, Hogan died at the hospital. An unknown suspect is said to have fired shots during an altercation, and police are still trying to determine if the traffic collision was related to the gunfire or incidental. The man I spoke with says he's not from Omaha, but often stays near the Capitol District for short visits. He is shocked by what happened last night.
This is a very popular area as far as, it has to be, because they're wonderful, and did not expect what went down.
Also, while on scene here, I encountered a group of 3 young women who were weeping near a vehicle that had been left behind by a victim here last night. When I spoke with them, they only told me that they had a loved one who had died here the night before. Reporting in Omaha, Jessica Edson, 3 News Now.
Anyone with information about last night is encouraged to call Omaha Crime Stoppers at 402-444-7867.
Over these last few weeks, we've seen efforts in Congress to hike the federal minimum wage. Monday in Lincoln, one state senator is trying to do the same in Nebraska, progressively getting the minimum wage up to $20 an hour.
While Nebraska has a low unemployment rate of right around 3%, Senator Terrell McKinney says many of those people are not making enough and working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. His bill would slowly but drastically escalate Nebraska's minimum wage, going up $1 an hour annually, eventually settling at $20 an hour.
We have to show that we care more about these people and less about business owners. Business owners, since they're so smart, they'll find a way to survive. But we have to take care of Nebraskans.
One business organization, the Lincoln Independent Business Association, spoke against the bill. Dallas Jones says business owners are already paying what they can afford, and a wage hike could lead to unintended consequences.
Many businesses will close, and the very jobs that proponents of this bill hoped would drive people out of poverty will vanish.
McKinney sought to disprove myths that minimum wage workers are lazy, saying they kept the economy going during the pandemic.
If all these people were showing up to work late, lazy, didn't care about the job, how would we have survived during the pandemic when all these individuals were still showing up to work and giving us food, making sure the shelves were stocked?
Northeast Nebraska Senator Tim Greger, who sits on the Business and Labor Committee, told McKinney he's worried about the cost of products going up if this goes into effect.
My brother owns a grocery store. All the prices of groceries are going to go up as the minimum wage goes up.
Numbers show it would be tough to make a living on the current minimum wage, which nets an annual salary of around $19,000. If the bill went into effect, that same person would be making over $41,000 by 2032. In Lincoln, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
The 3 News Now investigators team told you about emails obtained by the Nebraska ACLU. They indicated the Omaha Police Department was keeping an eye on local activists and their activities last summer. At the height of racial justice protests, the police department and the city said they were simply watching social media posts, especially for activities in which organizers refused to work with the police department as they planned their protests. Tonight, we talked to one person who was the subject of the purported surveillance, who told us she worked with the police and yet still wound up being watched. Reporter Jeff Van Sant has the story.
In the summer of 2020, social justice protesters took to the streets. Through it all, according to internal Omaha police emails, they were keeping a close eye on organizers, diving into their personal lives.
I was just very shocked that they had so much extensive information on me because, like I said, I am not a threat to the community. I've never, I don't have a criminal history.
Brianna Full founded Blackout Omaha, an organization she says is geared towards providing help to the Black community. This summer, she was planning an event of speakers, artists, and performances. She says she kept police in the loop.
And just asked me about the event, how many people were going to be there, where it was going to be at. And, I followed up with them multiple times over a period of weeks just to make sure they knew everything that was going on.
What she didn't know is that police were planning for trouble. In an OPD email from July 28th, it says, if we get intel that this could go sideways, plan on having RDF and SWAT called out.
I consider myself responsible for all those who were attending my event, and to put them in danger somehow by having SWAT there really disappointed me.
Emails also show they looked into Brianna's history, including where she went to school, her degree, when she graduated, and her political beliefs.
I tried to be cordial. I tried to work with OPD. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then this is what they do to me in turn.
OPD emails from August reveal a quote from her about defunding police and creating a new public safety system, saying it appears she has been able to raise money for supplies for protests, donating to the Nebraska Left Coalition Bail Fund. But OPD concludes it didn't find any real concern with her. She wants change, but I don't see her advocating for anything violent.
I did feel very violated. I felt like my civil rights were definitely violated because there was absolutely no probable cause, no inkling that I was going to commit a crime. Nothing like that happened. And they collected all this information on me, yet they're the ones who are supposed to be protecting me and protecting my rights. And it's just the exact opposite.
Other emails reveal OPD had been looking at other activists in Omaha, even considering to surveil a birthday party. Another asks if they could arrest people riding in chalk outside of OPD headquarters. OPD put out a statement saying there is no surveillance conducted on individuals. Open source documents were referenced to learn where the event was going to be and staffed accordingly to maintain public safety. And the city attorney says this is not a form of surveillance as alleged by the ACLU. Phones were not wiretapped, residents were not monitored, and people were not followed. For Brianna, she says what's revealed in these emails creates more of a divide, distrust.
I took a step back from, putting myself out there, trying to develop relationships with OPD. They definitely took advantage of that, and I feel like I can't trust them.
In Omaha, Jeff Van Sant, 3 News Now.
Should schools be mandated to put the words "In God We Trust" in every school building? Senator Steve Erdman thinks it's a good idea.
It's not something that we see on a daily basis, and that has been left out. It's our national motto. We have it in almost every courthouse in the state.
Erdman, who represents parts of western Nebraska, wants the words of the national motto in a prominent place inside schools or in every classroom. Supporters point to the words being the later verses of the Star-Spangled Banner, saying it's a part of our history.
And I do believe that we need to keep our history in the public schools
and uphold our history, the true history of our country.
Multiple senators in the Education Committee had questions, including Terrell McKinney, who wondered about how people in other religions would take this.
If I'm Islamic,
Right.
should we say in Allah we trust as well?
That's not the national motto. The national motto is in God we trust.
Erdman said the words are not a statement of Christianity or any other religion, to which other senators seem skeptical. Senator Patty Pansing Brooks believes it should only happen if there's an asterisk next to the motto.
Unless we have some little asterisk that says not a statement of faith but of history, it's going to be taken as a statement of religion.
The bill also calls for the state attorney general to defend the schools if sued. Kobe Koash, who represents school districts across the state, spoke in opposition, saying the decision should be left up to the schools, not by a state mandate. However, he did say some schools are looking to do this already.
The reason some have not done it already is for fear of litigation.
In Lincoln, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
Creighton men's head coach Greg McDermott is apologizing for a statement he made to players and staff last week. In a post on his Twitter page, Coach McDermott said after a tough loss on February 27th, he used a, quote, terrible and inappropriate analogy to make a point about the team staying together, saying in part, I need everybody to stay on the plantation. Coach McDermott says he immediately recognized his mistake and addressed his use of insensitive words with the team.
One day after Nebraska's first case of the UK variant of COVID-19, known as B117, was confirmed in Douglas County, the Douglas County Health Department confirms 9 cases of the California variant referred to as B1429. There are 4 other confirmed cases of this variant throughout the state. 2 in the Public Health Solutions District, 1 in Lancaster, and 1 in the East Central District. 13 in total in Nebraska so far. The number of cases means this variant has spread. While the California variant is believed to be more easily transferable, the vaccines have been said to be effective. Right before 1 this morning, the Council Bluffs Police Department were sent to 2400 9th Avenue for an attempted murder. A victim was shot inside of O-Face Bar and was transported to a local hospital for treatment. Officers were informed that a black male wearing a red shirt, black coat, black pants, and a red bandana around his face walked into the bar and shot the victim. The black male then left the bar in an unknown direction. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information is asked to call the Council Bluffs Crime Stoppers.